Hello and welcome back to my channel. I have another unboxing. This time I'm going to be looking at some Empire Knights from Warhammer Fantasy Battles. These are an out of production kit. You cannot buy these from Games Workshop anymore in any form, even in ugly white boxes. But I am fortunate enough to have two of these. These are some of my favorite models in the Warhammer Fantasy line. They're very much based on, I'd say, roughly 15th century knights. They're definitely later medieval, going in towards that Renaissance period before things like knights started disappearing. And they're just really cool. They have heavy barding on their horses. The knights have full plate, lances, and there is the option to build these guys as Knights of the White Wolf. They also come with all the bits you would need to make Reiksguard and Knights Panther. There might be other options in there that I just don't remember offhand, but these are the three knightly orders that you can definitely make out of this box, which gives you 8 knights, including the full command. I have built and painted at least 30 or 40 of these in total. Some of them I don't have anymore, because I was scaling back my collection at one point, but I do know that I can run a large unit of these guys, at least a dozen. I have enough of these guys, including the original Pewter Knight Panther, to run about 10, and I have 10 Reiksguard. And as I said, I have 2 of these boxes. These are like rainy day models. I don't need any more of these at the moment, but I really like painting them. So there is going to be a point where I will build these up, and most likely I'll convert them. I have been toying with the idea of a Knights of More regiment to add to my army, or I guess knightly order, cavalry squadron. And I have a few ideas of how to do that using my 3D printer and some other parts I have available in my bits box and that I know I can get third party. But right now I just want to talk about the standard kit. So right off the bat, the first thing that's in my mind worth talking about is this cover art. This is, I believe, the 6th edition box art. Or, sorry, our army book art. But it might not be. The point is, though, is that this is some of the nicest art the Empire had. This imagery of mass cavalry charges. And I really have always liked this box for this picture. And it's part of what I consider the classic styles. I have 3 periods of GW boxes that I kind of consider the classics. You had the red and green boxes you'd see back in like 4th, 5th edition era, so like the mid to late 90s, where it was just a red box or a green box or whatever color they chose, maybe blue, and they just had a picture of the models painted up. They were really simple models back then, so I think the really simple idea of just lining them up on a felt or grass mat, whatever they were using, and taking a picture really worked. Then you have this. This is what came out around 2000. This is like the 6th edition. I think 40K a little bit earlier was seeing that, maybe like 98, 99. But it was like these paintings, these gorgeous pieces of art. And while this doesn't tell you much about the models, because the models do not look this nice. There's a lot of detail on here that you just won't get on models of that age. It's still very evocative and, definitely something that would draw people in, because this is what Warhammer is. It's big battles, and in this picture there's hundreds of knights, you can tell, if not thousands, charging off to battle. And the final, what I consider the classic, is similar to the 4th and 5th edition. It's what we started getting around 7th edition, which are the pictures of the models on like a fake battlefield, but it's like more realistic. Like they've made effort to like edit the photo to make it look like these models are on a real battlefield, like the Empire General kit that I showed off in another video. But this one here, I think this is probably my favorite period. It's these art pieces we got with battle sequences, and it was great. I say this a lot, I mean it. I really wish GW would go back and look at what their boxes used to be like and change it up. I mean, the new boxes look good on a shelf, but they don't look good, in the same way. They look nice because they look marketable. This, though, is something that I feel there's a reason people collect these boxes, even the empty ones, and it's this art. So I'm going to stop talking about the art now. I mean, I think that's, 5-6 minutes into this video, and I haven't opened the box yet, so time to move on. These are the instructions, by the way. It's just this. It's like, okay, put the horse together. It's 2 pieces, a head and a tail. Make sure the rider's built. He's some legs and a body, the arms, the head, whatever you want. Stick them on. That's it. That is your instructions. I'm going to pour this out because this is a bit of a jumbled mess. And that's because the horses back then, you would get these. Get one that's actually together. It was just this like double, I don't want to call it a sprue. I mean, it's a sprue technically, but very loosely on that term. So these are from 91. These are very old, as I said, and they're nice still. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of detail, but it's flat detail. It's not like today's models. But you get your 2 horse halves and your horse head and your horse tail. And you just basically take these off, you glue them together with the head can go off after the tail you glue. Sorry, you don't glue, but you set the tail into here as you're building it. And then that just kind of stays with the rest of it as it's glued together. Then the horse head just gets stuck on. Nothing fancy about these horses and how you build them, but they're really nice. Okay, so you get 2 sprues like this. This one here. These are your knight heads. So things like your Knight's Panther, a couple of those, and then the Reichsguard. When you look at it here, where is it? Okay, so the way you kind of tell is that the Reichsguard heads have the laurel leaves, and the Panther heads have the little band that goes around. And you wind up with 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you get 4 of each on each sprue, which means that with 2 sprues, you get enough to build 8 Reichsguard or 8 Knights Panther. You get some extra little bits here. These are like toppers to go on banners and such. Arms and other arms. These are the lances. These here lances, I really like them. They're nice and thick, but as I said, I've had many of these over the years. They do break. They're pretty flimsy, so you do have to be careful with those. And with the banner here, you have to be careful with the bottom. You definitely wind up with dudes that there's nothing down below their hand, and you end up having to like repair that, which is not fun. The easiest way tends to be drill a hole and use something else that fits in the bottom instead of trying to put the plastic back. That's what I've found over the years. And that's where the toppers go. That was these pieces up here. The heads are really nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're definitely, like I said, old sculpts. These came out around like 99, 2000. Is there a date on the sprue? No. Oh, wait, yes, there is. It is 2000. Yeah. So these came out in 2000, like I thought. You get 2 sprues of this. And then you get 2 sprues of these. These are your legs. And your torsos, you know, they're nice torsos. They have some cool designs on the breastplates. You get some laurel leaves, and you get some swords and scabbards, which is a nice little detail to add to them because they have lances, but they only use those on the charge. So having these on the model, it lets you show that you're going to, you know, use the lance in the charge and then break out these. I've always kind of felt like the rules should have lances much more powerful than they are, because right now they're +2 strength, but I feel like they should be something like +4 strength and maybe +2 initiative or something. Maybe that's a bit too wild, but you know, but more powerful and more just deadly, but then only allow them to be used once. And after that, they're just using their hand weapons. That would make Inner Circle Knights in 6th edition and all the way up to 8th edition much better, because I do believe they're +1 strength. But also, it would just mean that, you know, you don't have to imagine that they make a charge and then I guess a bunch of squires or something just kind of rush out and give them new lances mid-battle, which I'm sure like isn't historically inaccurate, but when you're playing a big game of Warhammer and they're 15, 20 inches from their starting position making a charge, and then they win the charge and they rush through, how are the squires getting up there to give them a lance? So having that on there, I don't know. I feel like if the lances were one use only kind of thing, but much more powerful, that would also make these on the model look better, because you know they'd be using them. Down here, you get your trumpet, your bugle. You get a guy holding his helmet. That's for a champion. Another head for the Knights Panther, and one for the Reichsguard. These would be champion heads. These are little pennants to go on lances. And then you get a champion arm with a sword. This is the champion horse head. And you get a panther cloak. I believe that's a panther cloak, because you can make... yeah, that's a panther cloak. So, yeah, there's his head. So everything here, these two sprues, makes the two basic, I guess they're called, knight or knightly orders that they include in here. And I guess you can see this used to actually be, this is how it would come out of the sprue machine, would be stuck together like this, and then they just snapped it. And then you get 3 sprues of this. As you can see, I've already used some, specifically because you get these hammers and they break, just like the other bits. And I had to do some hammer swaps at one point, I'm pretty sure is why these are gone. You get a couple of capes. So not every Knight of the White Wolf is going to get a cape, but you do get these here. Now, I'm going to actually stop. Maybe I only get 2 of these. I actually might only get 2 of these in here. This one might have actually come out of my second box. I'd have to open it up and look at it. But you get at least 2, because I don't know why I'd have 3. And yeah, you get these hammers. They are cavalry hammers. That's why they're small. If you're familiar with the pewters that came out like 4th edition, I think it was. Might have been 5th, but I think it was 4th edition fantasy. They had much larger, like, 2-handed hammers. And by comparison, these are quite piddly looking. This looks like these guys are, like, going to go, like, build a house or something by comparison when you see them next to the others. But they're still quite nice little pieces on their own. You get a few different styles. And then you get these 2 capes. These are the wolf capes. So you would get at least 4 in the box. They don't all get one, which is unfortunate because they should all have one, based on the lore, if I understand correctly. You get a couple of medallions, so like you can make your little Geralt of Rivias with their little wolf talismans. And then you get these heads. These are really cool and quite different because unlike the knightly orders with their like shiny helmets and everything, these guys here are just kind of wild men. They're much closer to like the flagellants. Like they're just like dudes with big beards and wild hair, and I don't know, this guy looks like a Kislev to an extent, but that's because they're from a more northern province, and Ulrich, his followers, are a little more wild than Sigmar's. Get a couple of arms for them as well. Not really sure how they're different. I'm going to take a quick peek at the other sprue that had arms. I guess they are, when you look at them, they are quite different. There's a lot more armor on these guys. These guys, I guess they just have lighter armor on their arms, which would make sense, I suppose, when they're swinging hammers around more than they are just holding a lance. The last thing you get, other than bases, are shields. The shields are really cool. I like them a lot. Just a couple of different styles. These ones here have the notches for your lance. And they have a lot of cool Empire imagery on them. So, very nice little sprue of shields. Okay, and that's really all I have to say about these. I mean, it's a cool set, and definitely one that's, again, it's sought after like a lot of the old fantasy stuff. Part of me wants to let them go, but if I do want to build them, I'm not going to find them again. It's just what it comes down to. And these are models that they're like a big part of my initial investment into Warhammer Fantasy was these knights. So having a couple of boxes around that I can, at some point just open up and say, I'm going to make knights fresh out of a 20-plus-year-old box. That's something I like to have available to me, just because these are part of my nostalgia for Warhammer, is these kits from this early period of my time playing the game. Okay, that's everything I have to say about this, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below as always, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.